All right, so in this video, I am going to review again for you how to take a decimal number and write it in expanded form in 4 different ways. This is a review. We started doing this all the way back in November. So let's take a look with a small number. If I have the number 46 hundredths, using the place value chart, I can plug that in. I have 0 ones, a 4 in my tenths place, and a 6 in my hundredths place. Now, like we've reviewed in class today and learned previously, there are 4 different ways I can expand or stretch this number out. So the first way is I'm going to be using the value of each digit in decimal form. So in this number, 46 hundredths, the 0, I don't have to even worry about that. Some students like to include it. You don't have to. I'm going to start with the 4. That 4 in the tenths place is 4 tenths. The 6 in the hundredths place is 6 hundredths. That's how they're written. So in order to write them in an expanded form, all I'm going to do is add the value of each digit. So the first way is 4 tenths plus 6 hundredths. That's it. So now the second way is to write the value of each digit, but in fraction form. So again, I see that I have a 4 in my tenths place, so I have 4 tenths. That 6 in my hundredths place is worth 6 hundredths. So all I need to do is just add the value of those digits. 4 tenths plus 6 hundredths, which is the same as the purple, 4 tenths plus 6 hundredths. Now, the other ways that we are going to be taking a look at this is where we take the digit and multiply it by the place value it's in. So we're going to be using this information at the top of the chart here. And again, you can do it in decimal form and you can do it in fraction form. So if I have 4 tenths, I would say that I have 4 in my tenths place in decimal form, just like this, 4 times a tenth. I'm repeating the tenths place 4 times. If I were to model this using place value blocks, I would be repeating a tenth block 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why we're writing it as 4 times a tenth, plus a 6 in my hundredths place. So I'm going to do 6 times a hundredth. Again, if I was using place value blocks, I would repeat the hundredths 6 times. So that's why we're showing it 4 times a tenth plus 6 times a hundredth. So now the other way that you can do this is just doing the digit times its place value, but now in fraction form. So I'm going to go back and take that 4. Instead of timesing it by a tenth in decimal form, I'm going to multiply it by a tenth in fraction form, plus the 6 times a hundredth, again in fraction form. So there are your 4 ways. The value of each digit in decimal form, the value of each digit in fraction form, and then over here, finally, you can see that we took each digit, the 4 and the 6, and multiplied it by the place value that it's in. So let's go ahead and take a look at another example. All right, so for this one here, let's use the number 2 and 935,000. So again, if I plug this into my place value chart, I have a 2 in my ones place, a 9 in my tenths, a 3 in my hundredths, a 5 in my thousandths. So starting off the first way, I'm just going to add all of the digits in decimal form. I have a 2 in my ones place, so that's worth 2, plus a 9 in my tenths place, so that's 9 tenths. And again, I'm just using this little clue up here, replacing that 1 with a 9 because I have 9 of them. I have a 3 in my hundredths place, so I'm going to use that decimal form right here and think, all right, well, I have 3 of them, so I'm going to write it as 3 hundredths plus a 5 in my thousands place, 5 thousandths. So again, I added the value of each digit, stretched them out. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing, but in fraction form. I have 2 wholes plus 9/10. Well, instead of decimal, I'm going to write it as 9/10 plus the 3 in the hundredths place means I have 3 hundredths, so 3 over 100 or 3 hundredths. And finally, 5 thousandths. I'm going to write it as 5 over 1,000. So again, those are the 2 ways where you are adding the value of each digit. Now we're going to take a look at what it looks like, again, when you take the digit and multiply it by the place value it's in. So I have a 2, 9, 3, and 5. So I need to take the 2, multiply it by the ones place because it's in the ones place. Now I'm going to take the digit 9 and multiply it by the place value it's in. I'm going to do my decimal form first, and I see it's in the tenths place, and a tenth is written as that 0.1 plus, now I have a 3, so I'm going to take the 3 and multiply it by the place value it's in. I see I have 3 hundredths, and there's the hundredths right up top. And then finally, I have the digit 5 in the thousands place. So I'm going to take the 5 and multiply it by the thousands place in decimal form. Again, because I'm repeating the thousands 5 times. I'm repeating the hundredths 3 times. I'm repeating the tenths 9 times, and I'm repeating my ones 2 times. So now that we just did this in decimal form, we're going to do the exact same process, except we're going to change it to multiplying by the place value in fraction form. So the whole numbers are now going to stay the same, where I'm going to do 2 times 1 for the ones place, but now I'm going to look at how to write these in the fractions, and you can see that I circled them right above the place value chart. So I'm going to do 2 times the ones place plus 9 times the tenths place plus the 3 is in the hundredths place, so I'm just going to do 3 times a hundredth plus a 5 in the thousands place, so I'm going to do 5 times 1,000. So again, you can see that what I wrote in that green color is the exact same thing as the blue, where I'm taking those digits 2, 9, 3, and 5, 2, 9, 3, and 5, and just multiplying them by the place value that they're in. So those are our 4 ways. We'll do one more example for review. Again, you should be writing these down. You can also pause the video at any time, try it out, see if you can match what I get, and then come back and push play to see how you did. Alrighty, so here we go. Let's do 8 and 431 thousandths. Again, that means I have an 8 in my ones place, a 4 in my tenths, a 3 in my hundredths, and a 1 in my thousandths. So by using this place value chart, I'm going to always refer to the names above the numbers, as well as this information written above the chart to help. All right, first one. I am going to take each digit in decimal form and add them to each other. So I have 8 ones plus 4 tenths, so 4 tenths in decimal form, plus 3 hundredths, plus I have a 1 in my thousands place, so I have 1 thousandth. Don't forget, push pause, try it yourself in your notebook, come back and push play to see how you did. Alrighty, so now all I'm going to do is take this exact same form, but turn those decimals to fractions. So the 8 wholes is going to stay the same, plus 4 in my tenths place, 4 tenths, plus 3 in my hundredths place, 3 hundredths. And then finally, I have a 1 in my thousandths place, so it's going to be plus 1 thousandth. All right, next up, again, this is where we do each digit multiplied by the place value that it's in. So the first one I'm going to do is take each digit, multiply it by the place value it's in decimal form. And again, I'm going to use this information above the top where I just put that blue arrow to help me. So I have my 8 times the place value that it's in. Well, the 8 is in the ones place. So I'll do 8 times the ones place. Plus, now I'm going to move on over to the 4. And I'm going to say I have a 4 in my tenths place. Plus, I now have a 3 in my hundredths place. So I'm going to take that digit 3 and say that it is in the hundredths place. Finally, I have the digit 1, and I'm going to say I have that digit 1 in the thousands place, so I'm going to do 1 times 1,000th in decimal form. All right, one more to go. It's going to look just like the top one, except we are taking those numbers and replacing them with fractions where we can. So again, the 8 is still in the ones place, so I'm going to keep that just as 8 times 1. Plus, again, the 4 is in the tenths place, but now I'm going to take a tenth, and instead of in decimal form, I'm going to write it as a fraction, so 4 times a tenth. Plus 3 times 100th. And then finally, I have that 1 in the thousands place, so I'm going to add plus 1 times the thousands place. So now it's your turn to get some practice. You can come back, watch this video as much as you need to help you get the answers.